out of the ordinary insights. Brought to you by Investec Specialist Bank.
Braum, General Manager for Lenovo Africa. Graham, thanks for staying with us. Now, we mentioned in part one the evolvement of the ecosystem, where PCs form one part, and there's also the proliferation of the smartphone. We live on a continent where 70% of people access the internet through their phones, whether it's a smart feature phone, or a smartphone. Now, you are moving into that market, especially in Africa. You are planning to roll out an Africa-focused smartphone, specifically in Nigeria at the end of the year. How's that process going, and what do you hope to attain through this rollout?
Yeah, I think smartphone is very relevant, as is tablet for Africa. I believe that a good portion of the Africa population will skip a generation of traditional PC, and either the tablet or the smartphone will become the PC of Africa. It does make sense. Ultimately, we've got a huge untapped market, so we're talking about tens of millions of people. Smartphone for us, as I say, is just one of the windows in our PC Plus strategy. We're currently number 2 in China, made a huge growth there. We rolled out Wave 2, which was Russia, India and Indonesia, and we're currently busy with Wave 3. 3 weeks ago we did the launch in the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, also very big markets when it comes to smartphone, and Africa is on the roadmap. Smartphone is a very different category of product, and
not something traditionally associated with Lenovo.
No, and something that you have to really make sure that that you really do the investigation, you do your own research in each country that you want to launch, and really understand the metrics and the supply chain and the serviceability, and more importantly, understand the type of customers that you're addressing with those products. So I'm very comfortable with the global supply chain economies of scale. We have it. We're shipping tens of millions of phones per quarter in China, so that's already there. The first 3 weeks sell through in Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates have been really good. But we can't ignore Africa. If we take a market like Nigeria, for instance, there's more than 100 million subscribers, mobile phone.
Lovely market to get into.
Correct, and 175 million people, and ultimately a big opportunity there. But having said that, there's a lot of other countries in Africa as well where there's a high penetration of a smartphone, and we need to investigate those as well. So I think for us, it's, as I said, it's brick by brick. We're not doing everything at once. And when we launch in whichever countries they will be first, we would have done the full end-to-end focus group research and make sure we've got the infrastructure to support what we want to bring to market.
But let's talk about the competitive landscape. I mean, aspirationally, we have Apple and Samsung, and stalwarts like Nokia, although not doing as well internationally, still have a good foothold in Africa, especially in East Africa. How are you going to go head to head to these brands, so to speak? But it's still at the same time being cost effective, because there's aspiration and there's affordability. Now, where does Lenovo fit in there?
I think competition is always healthy. I mean, without competition, I don't think any brands like Lenovo will survive. So we're excited about the challenge of moving up the smart connected device ranking, and definitely to become a relevant number 3, and then work on moving higher. I think definitely those brands that you mentioned, they're strong competitors. Ultimately, we need to make sure that we are not just another player. We need to make sure that we have a set go-to-market strategy that is relevant to Lenovo. I believe that, once again, the segmentation is quite diverse. So when I look at Africa today, even though there is a high penetration in phone, a lot of it is sort of feature phone.
Or smartphone, feature phone, enabled phone, so to speak.
Correct, enabled phone. Smartphone is the fastest growing. I mean, this is high triple digits, and we believe that we can be very relevant in there. We've already done some work on some go-to-market strategies where we believe that from, let's say, our first focus groups that we've done, those focus groups would be excited if we brought that type of technology to market. So I don't think it's just going to be about bringing another device. It's really going to be bringing probably a touch portfolio to market, which will incorporate some traditional, some new with the smartphone. At the same time, we want our own ecosystem when it comes to deploying those products into the market. And I think we've done a lot of work in the background. I think only time will tell whether it's successful or not. I can't give away everything, obviously. Some competition are listening, but we understand that. So we understand the competition, and it's really bit by bit. So it's not that we are going to go and get 20% share tomorrow. We've really built a matrix of where we believe we can be. We've projected audiences that we believe we can be relevant to, and the products that we will bring to market, although it will not be 100, it will be relevant for those markets. So even in as much as some of the products that we'll bring into certain markets will be different to other in Africa as well as Middle East.
Now you are at the helm of a technology company, but it's still operated by people. How important is the human factor when running a company like Lenovo Africa?
I'd say in Africa it's more important than anything, because today you can have the best systems in the world, but Africa, as advanced as they are becoming, we're not emerging anymore from a technology point of view. I think we move beyond that, and technology is key. But I still believe that in Africa business is done face to face. I don't believe the engagement can be done any other way. It's just the way Africa is. And that's why I think from the beginning when we were having this discussion, you really need to understand Africa end to end, country by country, culture by culture. So for me, the people are the most fundamental. I think as Lenovo, we will always go and source what we believe are the best local talent in order to engage with that country. So global strategy is really, really important. But to have a local execution is the most fundamental in Africa.
How would you define your leadership style?
I would like to say that I really want to make sure that I have, let's say, the next generation leaders coming from under me. So it's for me to build a team, but also to build the managers of the future, to watch them succeed, to empower, let's say, my middle management to move to top managers. So that's really everything that I do is really around that. Ultimately, if you do not build the successful leaders of tomorrow underneath you, then myself, I cannot succeed. So I'm there to steer the ship, but really to grow my middle management to the next level. I want to see them being the captains of the industry in whichever environment they're going to be, and know that I've been a part of that success of that individual or that team.
Now, building a team also means building corporate culture. How important is culture and corporate values to Lenovo?
Yeah, it's probably the most fundamental. I think the key around Lenovo today is it's not necessarily my direction or let's say my boss's direction, but if you look from the very top, if you look at Yang Cheng, who runs this company from China, he is really engaged with the 30,000 plus employees around the world. And today, from a strategy point of view, if you had to go and ask any one of those 30,000 employees, what is Lenovo's strategy? Where are we going? What is the future? I think every one of them will give you the similar answer. And I think that's important. I think once you have a global strategy, the execution has to happen locally, and that, I mean, country by country, each individual, each employee, and that's definitely where I play a huge role, and my equivalents and the other subsidiaries play a huge role. But the strategy's got to come from the top, and I think today on PC and PC Plus, we have a very clear roadmap for the coming years, which is exciting.
Speaking of roadmaps, you are the GM for Africa, which means a lot of traveling. How do you balance living life out of a suitcase? How often do you travel?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, it is part of the job. I think you sign up for it. How do you balance it? I think you have to have a very understanding wife and kids.
That was going to be my next question.
So that I have. So I'm very lucky. I think you have to build it in your framework. I think.
Is there such a thing as a work-life balance when you're sitting at the helm of a corporate company?
I think you have to make the balance. So for me, at home, when I'm at home, it's 100% of the family. I invest all my time in the kids. They're the future as well, so I've got to invest in them. So I do that. I've had a very active sporting career. I played a lot of rugby in my life, being a South African, but many years, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I think as I've become the silver surfer, so rugby had to fall away. I can only watch now and get frustrated like every other rugby supporter, but I now I'm a very active golfer. I play a lot of golf, so that for me is the balance. I also am a strong follower of people like John Keogh, Power of the Mind. He was one of the pioneers of the Power of the Mind. I still utilize a lot of his tools, and that helps me focus. I think it also helps the balances. I get up early in the morning, so by 5 o'clock I'm already up.
Is there a gym session in there somewhere?
There is, but not enough. I think now the 5 o'clock sessions are the kids. So
getting them ready for school.
Yeah, just investing a bit of time before they go to school. So that's really my time. 5 to 6 is really with the kids. I spend the time with the kids in that time. I'm lucky, not so much with my daughter. With my son, he's an early wake. I think he takes that trait after me. I think my daughter, she sleeps late like my wife.
You won't say that. Now, as I said, you are the GM for a little over a year now. Long road ahead, early days. You are 41. How long do you see yourself, or what would your roadmap be at Lenovo, and what's the legacy you'd like to leave behind once you decide to hang up your boots?
I think if you look at the roadmap for Lenovo, just seeing where the roadmap is today, it could be. So I don't know what it comes after the Silver Surfer, but it could be a lot more than that. I see a very bright future for the company. I think if I look at the PC side, we've still got a lot to do, and even in a declining market, we believe we've got a lot to do and a lot to invest there. On the PC Plus side, we're just starting, and is there 10 years in that, 20 or 30? I don't know. I think there's a whole lifetime in there. So I think right now the opportunities are immense. The excitement for me is a lot of the Africa countries for me are virgin territories. We are starting from scratch, so we're building infrastructures from scratch. There's still a lot of work to do there. And right now, I wouldn't even be able to tell you is that 5, 10 or 20 years, because I think as we grow in those countries, so those countries are also growing from a PC Plus penetration point of view. And the opportunities in there are going to be immense going forward. So we will continue to build structures in each of those countries. And from a timing point of view, I don't know. It could be a lifetime. On the growth in Africa being as big as there's more than 1 billion people, that's not stopping either. Ultimately, I believe that every one of those people need a device at some time or another. So that could take us quite a long time to deploy. So I don't know. I don't know what the time frame is, but where I am today, and in a company that's really focused on a strategy of PC and PC Plus, I think the excitement is there, the adrenaline is there. I'm seeing just such huge opportunities. But it is about keeping your feet on the ground and building brick by brick, and that's the exciting thing. At the same time, recruiting talent, which is relevant for each country, is another huge part of what I'm looking at, and really building careers of people that can be leaders in those countries in the future. Being a part of that for me is really an amazing journey. So if I can see, be it 10, 20, 30 countries that I've helped build careers of local talent that are now the leaders in the ICT industry going forward, I think that in itself is huge satisfaction.
Well, Graeme, thank you very much for sharing your journey with us. You've been watching Captains of Industry. We've been speaking to Braum, the GM for Lenovo Africa. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.